Okay, I think we're going to kickstart this now. Thank you everyone for joining. Welcome to the Sia Community Call. Today is May 6th. My name's Oliver. I have a lot to cover this month for covering the March and April. So as always, these calls are recorded and uploaded to YouTube. You can play it back at your own pace. So let's jump straight into it. So starting with Rent2D, we have a lot to update you guys on. So we've implemented a small CI improvement that speeds up our build process. We've added a threshold setting to the lost sectors alert for better monitoring. We've resolved the issue with the S3 API regarding pagination when querying objects without a delimiter, which previously affected our clone compatibility. We've enhanced security by hiding S3 secrets for logs. We've moved max collateral settings from gouging checks to streamline operations. We've adjusted the S3 endpoint for list objects. It now correctly returns E-tags or modification times. Additionally, we standardize E-tags to regular uploads to the use of MD5, aligning with expected S3 behavior. We fixed the bug where S3 endpoint's head object would return an internal error instead of an appropriate error when an object wasn't found. We've updated account alerts to include a new context menu with options like resetting account drift. We've improved presentation of contract set alerts by consolidating data fields into a single field that displays both additions and removals on the unified timeline. We've enhanced the lost sector alert to display the exact number of lost sectors. We've adjusted alert table formatting so the cell content aligns to the top of each row. We've removed the minimum and maximum collateral configuration settings to simplify system settings. We've corrected configuration issues with the max RPC price would incorrectly round decimals values to 0. We've addressed the caching bug in the sector cache related to accounting for the renewed contracts properly, which affected pruning operations. We've transferred host info caching from the autopilot to the bus, enabling new UI features that facilitate querying hosts based on various criteria, such as score and spending. We've updated linting checks. We fixed the bug affecting the upload of partial slabs. They now will upload correctly once reaching the maximum buffer size. We've modified our download policy to allow downloads from the hosts that are gouging, except in cases of uploading gouging. The API responses that include host information now contain store data field, indicating the amount of data stored on the host. We've decided not to register alerts for failed contract renewals due to the host financial issues to reduce alert fatigue. We've corrected the bug in the config evaluation endpoint. We fixed an issue with the sector uploads to contracts that were renewed during the upload. We've addressed the non-deterministic failures in our unit test, mostly related to the asynchronously pruning slabs. We've updated the configuration to include minimum protocol version option, defaulting to 1.6.0 in simple configuration mode. And we've made several fixes to reduce constant host churn and file migration in Rent2D. For new installs of Rent2D, SID hosts will now be ignored by default. Existing renters can update these settings through new min host version option in the UI. So moving on to hostd updates, we've introduced price pinning to the API, allowing prices to be pinned to different currency values. We've added external Explorer support to the hostd daemon. This new feature is an opt-out and marks the first time external data has been utilized by the background service. It currently supports price pinning and could potentially expand to include other vital data like contract renewal cost basis in the future. We've integrated support for Prometheus to facilitate the creation of custom dashboards in Grafana. This is particularly beneficial for large setups, providing extensive customization options for viewing host metrics. We've implemented the price pinning feature within hostd, streamlining the process for maintaining stable pricing against currency fluctuations. And we've announced that future versions of hostd will no longer perform volume initializations with random bytes. This change will allow for both Linux and macOS systems to utilize sparse files significantly reducing hardware wear and tear. For Wallet D, we've removed the chain indices table to eliminate cascade deletes, streamlining our database management. We've enhanced address generation, and addition dialogues now feature an option to rescan for specific height, improving user control over blockchain synchronization. We've updated the profile details to include uptime and version information, offering users better insights into the system performance and updates. We've introduced a new receive button along with an existing address button to clarify send, receive options, making navigation and transaction executions more intuitive. We've added a dedicated rescan dialog that can be accessed directly from the wallet list and wallet context menus, facilitating easier management and initiation of rescans. We've improved the display of rescan progress and status, including any errors, now prominently shown in the sticky status bar for continuous visibility. We have a few extra development updates to mention. So for the SDK, we have integrated a wallet transaction signing method into the SDK. The SDK has also been updated to align with the latest core changes. This includes an updated structure. Our Explorer now features a host revenue calculator tool. Now features a host calculator tool. We've added tests for reversions and in the process identified fixed several bugs. We've implemented a capability to store transaction addresses. We've undertaken refactoring efforts to reuse more code and ideas from Wallet D. For web, we've refactored our libraries to better expose and maintain daemon-specific types and JavaScript SDK libraries, along with the React SDKs. For core, we've added release information to the host settings, specifically noting the version. So for example, host D version 1.1.1. The enhancement will facilitate easier tracking of the version-specific issues in our core software. Core utilities, we have resolved the minor bug in the apply chain state function, which previously causes a panic when calculating the total inflow. Additionally, we've addressed the small race condition issue that occurred during the mining of the blocks. And a few extra things in the miscellaneous is the nightly and beta versions of Rentity and Hosty via apt for Linux users. Lastly, Hosty and Rentity will now automatically open their UI in the browser. So taking a look at our metrics, the month shows there was an increase of 8.8 terabytes of storage utilization. You can see a massive dip around the beginning of April, and it's probably a representation of the concluded contracts before the retracement to the upside. The number of active contracts holds at 35,000. A network capacity of 6.143 petabytes with an increase of 11.5 terabytes. And we've acquired one additional host within the network and hope to see that number increase through the coming months. We have 4 new grants announced for this month's call. So we've got Dart Sia. The mobile application Dart Sia will be designed to integrate with the Sia ecosystem, allowing users to access and interact with Rentity nodes. Within the broad suite of software availability on the Sia platform, this facilitates data storage and sharing. We've got Sia Fuse, a file system. This will enable the creation of file system mounts using libfuse library, functioning similarly to the Fuse file systems, allowing users to interact with files hosted on Sia. We've got the S5 ecosystem and BupChat. This project will allow for the developer Red Solver to focus more on core coding and components of the S5 stack, while working on things like documentation and user-facing applications and furthering the Sia's ecosystem reach. We also have Sia Indexer. The goal of the Sia Indexer is to simplify the user and the developer experience by creating a platform that is easy to access and offers functionalities like now discontinued Sia stats. So speaking of grants, Red Solver has graciously provided us with a video into the S5 grant. So let's take a look at it.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this little demo video where I'll show you some of the recent S5 network things I've been working on. Unfortunately, I'm a bit sick today, so please excuse my voice sounding a bit off. If you don't know what S5 is yet, it's a decentralized content address data routing network. What this means in less technical terms is if you have a directory, like for example this here with an example.pdf file, and then run a cryptographic hash function like Blake3 on it. Can also be something like SHA-256 if you know that one, or older weaker ones like SHA-1 or MD5, and run this on a file, then you get a long hashback which uniquely corresponds or identifies this specific file. So this means that if you only change a very small part of this file or even take a completely different file, then this hash completely changes. And what this makes it possible for you to do is to trustlessly verify, if you only have the hash of a file, that it corresponds to something you downloaded somewhere. And this is at its core what S5 does. If you have a hash of something, you can just ask on the network, hey, who has this hash available? Your local node then gets back a list of URLs, tries them in order of importance, and then verifies that what you got is exactly what you expected without needing to trust any participant in the network. Yeah, this is pretty similar to other content address storage networks, like for example IPFS or also previously Sia Skynet, with the difference that S5 is a bit simpler, but especially faster, more efficient and scalable, especially because it uses like the Blake3 hash function by default. And supports big blobs, which you will see soon in this first little demo I made. So one of the big things I've been working on is a very powerful YouTube archiver, which is a great fit for S5 because there are a lot of big video blobs it uses. And let me just take this example. This is the most recent Sia Community Dev Call on YouTube. It has big blobs that it uses, so that's great for S5 because it handles big files pretty well. And also, as you can see, it skipped pretty quickly through this because it saw that this individual formats that it got from YouTube, like you see, it's available in all of the different resolutions, all the different frame rates, 2 different codecs, like some of the bigger YouTube videos, which are more popular, are even transcoded to like 3 or 5 different codecs, depending on how big they got. And this is the unique Blake3 hash, or S5 CID to be precise, which refers to exactly this video blob. And the YouTube archiver checks, oh, did anything change? Nothing changed, so it hadn't had to re-download everything and just skip to it. Now, after it archived or downloaded all of these blobs, it then creates this nice one metadata blob or metadata file, which is also referred to by a CID, which you can just copy and then, for example, use the local API for a localhost 5050 in this case is an S5 node. You can just run it with Docker or without, but that's a bit more involved. /S5 is for all the S5 APIs, metadata, and then paste the CID. Now you can see a nice JSON readable representation of this metadata. As you can see, it contains quite a ton of things. So let's start at the top. First of all, this is like the YouTube title. It contains the duration in milliseconds. Then here are all the different audio tracks. YouTube splits audio and video usually, so it can be combined more efficiently. And here are some of the lower audio codec or lower quality audio codecs. Here are some of the higher quality ones, like high bitrate in Opus or high bitrate in AAC, I think that is. You can also see, for example, if YouTube video has multiple languages, that's also possible, so then it just downloads all of them. Then here you have thumbnails in different resolutions and formats. You have storyboard, which is this small thing if you scroll over the video bar or the, where you see like these little images of where in the video that would be, so you can seek more easily. Then the next one here is title, description. There are also automatic captions generated by YouTube, which are usually not that good, but they are still downloaded, which are just basically subtitles, but automatically AI generated from the audio of the file. And then here are all the different video codecs. You see it starts at very low resolution, 144 pixels, and goes up to full HD. Of course, the tool also supports 4K and above. There's a Dash manifest, which is interesting if you want to serve this on a web app and also get all of this nice automatic format switching that YouTube has without needing any additional work. There are some other metadata stuff. Here you can also see the chapters are extracted, like for example, there's an introduction, there's a grant section, so on, so on. Some more subtitles, then also categories, some other metadata, and of course the source where it was archived from. Okay, so to show an example, let's just, for example, take this biggest WebM file here, which is the full HD one, copy the CID, and then you can, for example, go to /s5/blob on your local node and use something like MPV, which is a media player, to play back this video. And as you can see, it plays back just fine. You can skip easily because it's archived in my local node in this case. And yeah, it doesn't have audio, but that's because YouTube splits it, as I mentioned earlier. Okay, then another one thing that's, of course, why would you want a YouTube archiver? So maybe for personal archives, but especially because stuff on the web disappears and it's very important to preserve history. For example, this very important Sia Community Town halls that we've been holding, and it would be a shame if it would disappear sometime in the future. So that's why, yeah, we basically can archive stuff. And of course, you shouldn't archive like the entirety of YouTube, but what also S5 makes possible is to have like a decentralized, coordinated archiving effort. So you can tell others, hey, I archived this video ID, this CID, and then others, for example, don't need to archive it as much. And that isn't quite built yet, but there are a lot of interesting possibilities around it. Some other interesting possibilities are also about web archiving, because what disappears even more than YouTube videos is, of course, websites. So this is another thing I've been working on, which you can also kind of try today. You need to compile some stuff yourself, but if you run it, you can just archiver and, for example, take sia.tech, run it, takes a second, and then you can see it archives sia.tech. First the main homepage, and then it downloads all of the different resources the website needs to be displayed. So in this case, nicely split up by Next.js font files, which, yeah, Next.js really makes archiving hard. So then we wait a second until it like downloads everything. Get some chunks, some CSS. This isn't quite as foolproof yet, because unfortunately some websites need a full web browser to actually run some JavaScript and basically put all of the URLs it needs together. So I can't like guess all of them. So unfortunately it doesn't quite work for all web pages yet, but it's a good start using this simple scraping approach. Yeah, also, of course, another very interesting part about this, how it's done, is that this deduplicates everything. So if the same file appears at multiple URLs, then it only stores it once, because everything is addressed by its hash globally. Yeah, another example, for example, could be the Hacker News homepage, which is pretty nice because it's just a static page and very small. Awesome. You can also, if you want, run this with dept1, which also archives all of the links this website links to. Okay, so now archiving it is nice, but now of course we also want to browse what we archive. So let me just put this little browser here. We have a local S5 node, which we just used. And then there's this new nice API, which is S5 archive/browse. Oh, sorry, archive web. And then you just put the like URL you want to browse in, sia.tech in this case, enter, and then it loads this from the S5 network. As you can see, this is the fully archived web page. So if sia.tech, for example, goes offline, you can still browse it here. Most JavaScript and background images and all of that stuff was archived correctly. Some of them is a bit weird because Next.js loads some more JavaScript in, which somehow changes the images, which is a bit weird. But if you view this page with no script enabled, so if you disable JavaScript, then it actually renders fine. So the archive should be pretty complete. Another really nice example is if we go to Hacker News. Wait a second, let me just enter the URL. We have like the front page archived here, as you can see, and if you don't know, this is an aggregator for tech news. And to show you some examples of some other web pages, we can go to Best, which lists like the most highly voted things of the last few days. And then you can also click like on one of the external links. For example, this is an article on mulva.net where you can read, oh, DNS traffic can leak outside the VPN tunnel on Android. Interesting, important. And now it's, yeah, archived for all eternity until like my storage server dies on the S5 network, and users can view it. Isn't that nice? Yeah, then also some other examples. For example, here this woodworking article, interesting. This isn't quite perfectly archived. Somehow some images like are missing, but the GIFs work for some reason. So yeah, whatever. Of course, you can also read the comments, which are archived. So on Hacker News, because all things that are linked at least or at most one hop array are archived in this example image. GitHub pages also work. So the most nice thing is, of course, normal GitHub HTML pages of course work, but also GitHub pages kinda work. So if you go like on this, then it shows everything, including the README, but then GitHub runs some JavaScript and it disappears and it sucks. So I likely need to run like a full web browser for specific pages like GitHub, but yeah, most good websites that render nicely without too much JavaScript should work. Okay, so, but how is this actually stored on S5, this like web archive? And nice thing you asked, because I have an example for this. S5 has a file system. Yeah, okay, file system, whatever, which basically allows you to have both encrypted and public file systems, which organize files and directories in a nice way, but apart from not just saved locally, but like in a network-wide way. And as you can see, the web archive root directory of me personally, of course, your web archive directory will be a different one, is organized by the top level domain. So, for example, here we can go to org, and then all .org domains are here. That, for example, go to Wikipedia. Then you have here the English Wikipedia, also the other ones. Then this just means that it's like the root of the domain, and now it starts with the paths. Then we go, for example, to wiki, and then we have some examples here, and you see that all of the individual pages are saved as or linked rather as files in this FS. And every one of these is like a unique blob, which just is a Blake triage. And you can also select the size here, which is pretty compact. Of course, this can be made even more efficient apart from just deduplicating by also adding some compression on the storage layer, but that shouldn't be too hard to add. Okay, then what's also possible is, of course, this is a private directory. This is why the URL is so long, because it contains the encryption key. It's also possible to have public directories. For example, this is a full Arch Linux package mirror. Really, it mirrors all of the different packages, which is like, I think, 30 gigabytes or so locally on that server. And then S5 is run with the file system provider storage backend, which just indexes an entire local directory with Blake triages and everything, and just makes it available as an S5 compatible file system on a network. Yeah. Okay, also, of course, websites, why archive them? We could also just host them directly on S5. So this is what, for example, whoop.app is doing. If we now take this beautiful little terminal here, which we just used, and one, for example, doc is just a DNS client, DNS link.whoop.app. For the TXT record, and we see the DNS link is S5, and then this resolver CID, which points to a web app. And we can show this with a nice little tool that's called CID.1 on CID.1, where you can just paste any S5 CID, directory CIDs, whatever. It shows you exactly what it is, how it works, blah, blah, blah. And also resolves it down to the mutable layer, and then shows you the metadata. So in this case, this is a web app. As you can see, these are all the different paths with the individual blobs, CIDs, and content types of this specific website. This website. And this is exactly how this server actually fetches it from this 5 network, renders it, and shows it to you, or to your browser to be precise. Okay, so this was a lot of stuff. If you want to build stuff yourself with S5, then the most advanced library right now is the S5 package for Dart or Flutter if you're building mobile apps, desktop apps, sometimes web apps. And I highly recommend using this one if you're somehow familiar with Dart, or also if not, it's pretty easy to learn. So thank you for watching, and if you have any more questions about S5, then feel free to check out the docs at docs.s5.net and or join the Discord server link there, where you can ask any questions you might have.
That's great. Thank you very much, Resolve, for submitting that through. So I think moving forward for the community calls to come, I'm going to make this a regular thing, granting our approved grantees the opportunity to step into the spotlight and showcase their hard work. If any of you guys had any difficulties with the volume, with the audio there, I'm pretty sure that Resolve will make this video available for you guys to watch over. But yeah, chuck them a DM if you want to discuss more about it. But yeah, looks awesome. So regarding events, we had Paris Blockchain Week. So in April, we attended, sponsored, and hosted a workshop at Paris Blockchain Week to kickstart our event-heavy year. So our main goal was for attending was to find builders, seek potential partnerships, coin listing, and overall exposure and awareness of decentralized storage. Being one of the largest Web3 conferences in Europe, we discovered that Paris Blockchain Week was not our primary space to be in. It was predominantly tailored for DeFi, TradeFi, and cryptonomic organizations. However, there were helpful takeaways from attending that will contribute to enhancing our success for upcoming events.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this little...
Overall, the experience was enlightening and presented us with a fresh perspective that developing great software is as equally as important as pushing for adoption through this medium. This month, we do have Consensus, so we'll be attending and sponsoring at Consensus by CoinDesk in Austin, Texas. We'll have a booth set up. We'll be equipped with more merchandise and with an improved strategy to promote Sia and attract developers to better our ecosystem and community. For content, we did release 5 new blog posts. So without going into too much details of what those are, we've got the State of Sia, March. We've got Sia S3 integration with Plex. We've got the grant program update, March edition. We've got the community spotlight for S5. And lastly, our State of Sia April 2024 edition. You can find these blog posts available on Medium. That's blog.sia.tech. Our content calendar pipeline is jam-packed with items, and we're concentrating on releasing more for you guys to sink your teeth into. Next, we have our Beacon of the Month. I think it's important to celebrate our ambassadors as they help support our community by responding to questions, solutions, and upholding the mission of Sia outside of the team. So our Beacon Control Defeat has written a statement for me to read out to you guys. I started my first host in the 18th of September 2017 when the network was significantly smaller. Back then, it took a month for the first sector to get rented. This host ran for a little under a year until it broke down. I started my second host on the 20th of October 2018, and it has been running ever since. There are exciting things ahead. One technical thing I'm looking forward to the most is the hard fork, as it solves problems such as other allocations of collateral. For the past while, I've been working on a statistics website to give insights into the growth of network. So that'll be sidegraph.info. Things I really want to add are network utilizations by the Sia Foundation and the growth predictions and more historical data. If there's anything anyone would like to add or have been tracked, feel free to reach out. Sia has its ups and downs throughout the years. Network utilization peaked around 3.3 petabytes back in 2022. The network is smaller than it was back then, but the software has significantly improved, and I'm looking forward to the years to come. But yeah, thank you very much for your submission. I think Beacon segment of the call is a great opportunity to gain insight into what someone of credibility is thinking and their honest experience with Sia. Hopefully, this will encourage others to support new and existing members looking to maximize the use of our software and create a positive, healthy, and welcoming community. We'll probably in the future introduce a way for members of the community to become a beacon. So on to our next part is the community questions. These are handpicked community questions. So the first question is, when will Sia get more exchanges? So we're exploring several options outside of the US. However, within the US, the regulatory environment is currently very unfriendly. Our contacts at exchanges operating in the US are mostly said the same thing. They are pausing new layer 1 projects until there's more regulatory certainty. Our short-term plan is to integrate with DEXs and work with other companies in the space to push for regulatory clarity here in the United States. Our second question is, what kind of projects is the grant committee looking to fund, and what are the success metrics on completion of the grant project? So after funding some large-scale big project grants, the grant committee is now more interested in adhering closely to original mission. This involves funding research, development, developer tools, and anything that would help support and advance our mission of user-owned data while enriching Sia's ecosystem. It's been a solid year and a half of the grants, and they're looking to improve the quality, reduce the scale, increase the impact. We do not intend to suit or worry our current developers of grants on a larger side of standard. We are seeing constant improvements in quality of the projects delivered by our repeat grantees. We are definitely pausing funds for feasible futures for SDKs, alert bots, content and marketing, dashboards, and any physical spaces. These are areas better handled directly by the foundation, have not yielded results, or simply not of interest for us. Projects are merely used as Sia as a backend and could theoretically use any storage backend, and now less appealing to the committee than it was a year ago. So smaller proposals are more likely to be funded. Projects that support other grants or existing site development are also likely to receive funding. Creative ideas stand a better chance of being funded. So previously, the main criterion was how close is the end result to the initial proposal. We have seen many completed projects. Only one out of the 41 have been abandoned, and some of them are really great. However, we have since implemented a new process for standard grants. So this will be ranging from $10,000 to $100,000 in funding to better monitor a project throughout the grant lifecycle. So this requires the grantees to meet specific milestones, predefined during the proposal stage by certain dates before additional funds are distributed. This ensures that the grantees are better supported and held accountable, and that the Sia Foundation's funds are appropriately spent. Another question we got was, how do I mine or stake Sia Coin? You can mine Sia Coin using ASICs. Another method of earning Sia Coin somewhat passively is by providing excess storage to the renters. Sia does not offer staking in traditional sense. Next question is Sia trying to work with companies like Netflix or WWE? So we're not currently trying to work with large household names. Most, if not all, of them are in-house infrastructures with significant engineering tailored to their requirements. Our current target is other nonprofits that have large storage needs. Our goal is to help reduce their storage cost and infrastructure maintenance, while also improving their data durability and retrievability. And the last question for this month is, how can I get more involved in the Sia community other than trading? So you could invest and use some of your Sia coins to rent storage from the network. Set up a storage provider and offer storage to the consumers. Build a network integration that fills an empty niche within the ecosystem. So yeah, thank you guys for the questions. Onto our goals. So now carving our goals into stone for this month. So for engineering, the main focus will be to stay on track to reset Nagami to test Renter D and Host D. If that goes well, we'll follow up with a Zen update, then set a date for the mainnet launch. For growth, we're going to prepare a bit more for consensus that's coming up this month, and explore potential partnerships from our visit from Paris Blockchain Week. And that's a wrap. If you know anyone that's missed the call this month, ensure to inform them that recording will be uploaded to YouTube sometime this week for them to catch up on, and the link will be posted in the announcements channel. I'll leave the chat open for messages for a few more minutes, but thank you guys so much for tuning in this month.